Yes.
Okay, so going live, I mean, I should start, right?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are now about to begin a panel on achieving greater equality in music, sports, and entertainment. Please feel free to enter questions in the Q&A tab, and our moderator, Denise, will take them time permitting. I will now hand things over to Denise to get us started.
Thank you, Sophia. And welcome to this session. I'm Denise DeMercy, executive producer of The Business of Blockchain with Jen King. That's a video series produced at the NASDAQ market site in New York City. So with us today is an amazing panel with broad and direct knowledge of problems and emerging solutions in the industries we're here to discuss: music, sports, and entertainment. So first, with regard to blockchain, I want to point out the key thing that has made it famous is the opportunity to remove the roles of central authorities and shift much of their control and wealth to creators and even to their communities. So this kind of decentralized model is seen by many as a force for good. And I'd like to begin with Charles Sims, head of technology for the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team, because there's some pretty big news in the cloud storage space. And Charles, you're an expert in cloud storage. These new peer-to-peer networks have launched. They're offering storage and media streaming, and they believe they'll disrupt the giants in web services, right? Microsoft, which you're using, Amazon, Google. They hope to reduce costs for small businesses large and small. Startups are even hoping clients like Netflix will migrate over to their systems. I imagine they'd like to sign up the Clippers someday soon. So what do you think? Do these networks represent the future of cloud storage, and what do you need from cloud storage?
Yeah, so I mean, for those of us in enterprise technology, accessibility and distribution is the name of the game. How do you distribute and how do you diversify your content in a way that's globally accessible, fast, and easy to manage? I think the value that we're seeing blockchain-based file systems is they're owning those concepts almost literally, and much better than other technologies these days. Due to the scale of the world, even for large companies, it doesn't really make sense to have data centers everywhere like you used to. You don't have colos or anything. You're moving to those third-party systems like the AWS or the Azure, and that way you don't have to own infrastructure. All you're worrying about is management. But that's great, but what if I don't want a third party to have access to everything I have? What if I don't want to be limited to a power outage in Texas that took down the entire authentication chain of Azure in the past? I want to have something that is even more globally distributed and potentially maybe I'm even sharing storage with other organizations that we don't want, that no one should have the sole access to that or the ability to remove my access to that. That's where the amazing application of the file-based blockchain is going to be really interesting, especially in entertainment. The ability for a movie production to be able to collaborate with all their third-party editors, FX, post-production, all that, without having to worry where the files are being stored, and they're consistently available the entire way. That's amazing. And then as the production flips to streaming, now you're democratizing the ability for, just because the price is so much cheaper than either hosting with other CDN providers, you can have smaller productions be able to have content globally available. You're not worrying about the high cost of CDNs or just storage that's there. So even big guys like Netflix, absolutely, they could definitely benefit just from bringing down their costs, but it's also lowering the bar for a lot of other organizations that might not be able to get into streaming, that might not be able to get their content out there without another big studio behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all excellent points. And it relates back to what you discussed just now in your keynote about increasing access to technology and helping to democratize it and share the benefits with many more people. So how do you see new technology, blockchain and other technologies helping sports teams and their fans specifically?
I think the easy one that you hear about all the time is around ticketing, how you can use blockchain to be able to provide consistent, genuine access to the second party sales of tickets as they're sold through multiple brokers or from fan to fan. And how do you ensure that's legitimate? And that is obviously a really easy one. Having that full digital fingerprint of where that ticket's been since it's been released by the arena, and it's also it's valuable because then you can use that to combat things like bots or brokers who are needlessly inflating those ticket prices and making it more difficult for fans to buy tickets. But I think what's really interesting is the ability for some sort of data sharing platform that allows all of the teams in the world, or at least individual leagues, to share data that they use to run their business and be able to model with a much larger data set. As of now, each team is kind of on their own. They're restricted to their own standard data set. So the LA Clippers are restricted to what fans we know, what we know about them, how things like weather or other events in the area will affect ticket sales, will affect how attendance to a game can happen. But if there was a way to be able to share data across the entire league, that we know they can't just take it all, or that we know that there's a confidentiality piece to it, and they can't just take it, is really, really interesting. And I think that's where you could see some of the new concepts of blockchain coming up, or some sort of platform within blockchain being able to enable that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have read that some music platforms are already using decentralized storage, going back to that for a moment, and how technology is helping to reduce costs for musicians in this case, and help them financially. In other ways, fans can reward musicians with micropayments today. Fans themselves can be rewarded with tokens, thanks to token economics and cryptocurrencies, right, for supporting the network in a number of ways. So it seems the music industry is on its way to becoming substantially flattened, if you will, with blockchain helping to make it more fair and equitable. So Heidi, I'd like to turn to you now, because no discussion is complete about any industry today without recognizing the impact of COVID-19, the coronavirus and pandemic. So many creators, sadly, musicians, actors, artists, they're unemployed now, facing uncertain futures. And you're focused on this problem. You have a survey to discuss. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your survey.
Thank you to my fellow panelists, and if you're listening, thank you, Satoshi Nakamoto. My name is Heidi Pease. I am the co-founder of the Los Angeles Blockchain Lab, which is a collaboration of centers at UCLA, USC, UCI, working with the city of Los Angeles, LA County, Panasonic, and Lamborghini, to name a few. And we're focused on building a thriving blockchain ecosystem in Southern California. We also have a division that focuses on a social impact. It's called HerCode, and we've partnered with USC Viterbi School of Engineering to provide blockchain training to disadvantaged women around the world. I also wear another hat, and that is co-founder of Proof of Art, which is a blockchain-based platform that removes business frictions such as marketing, fundraising, issuing business forms, and engaging with patrons for any independent or freelancer, which includes artists, entertainers, and athletes. And we know that prior to COVID, artists very often struggled and lived paycheck to paycheck. In fact, the National Endowment for the Arts estimates that the average annual earnings for a full-time artist is about $53,000. However, that number is skewed because it includes architects, directors, and producers. So really, the income that artists have is much, much lower. And to supplement that, they very often take a secondary job. It's their day job in industries like food and beverage, hospitality, retail, beauty, and fitness. So when COVID first infiltrated the United States, these are the communities that were immediately impacted, these independents and freelancers. So we partnered with GBBC to survey and better measure the economic impact that COVID was making on these communities. And our survey results, unfortunately, were quite astounding. So our survey was conducted in both English and Spanish, and every state in the country was represented. And this is what we found. Not surprisingly, there was over 30% who've been affected are in art, and entertainment. Over 25% in food and beverage hospitality, and over 14% in retail, beauty, and fitness. So those are the industries that artists work in for their secondary jobs. So if you think about it, it really was a lose-lose situation from the very beginning for this community. Continuing on with that, 83% of the survey population had been laid off, and nearly 73% who had been financially affected by COVID are women. Nearly 50% of them have dependents, and unfortunately, nearly 20% did not have any money for food and basic services. And this is in stark contrast to while these artists were suffering and struggling for food and rent. According to the Americans for the Arts, about 75% of artistic practice was mass consumed by us to help lift our spirits during COVID-19. We can get numb by the numbers, but we received hundreds and hundreds of testimonials, and it's so painful to read. I'm just going to highlight a few of them so that we can bring forward the stories. Los Angeles, I'm a musician and supplement my income doing rideshare. There is no way to earn money in those fields, and I can't pay rent. North Carolina, for renters, a $1,200 stimulus is nothing more than a bailout for our landlords. New York, I'm an actress, I can't pay rent. The more this lasts, the more I will owe. I'm a hard worker and give back to the world, but am terrified this will lead me to homelessness. It's not right. And lastly, I just found a home after my 14-year-old daughter and I have been homeless since 2018. Finally back on my feet, now I don't have a job and will not be able to pay rent. So just in conclusion to some of my notes, I think that there's an opportunity to use technologies like blockchain to create tools for these artists as we mass consume what they're producing, and yet they're struggling so hard. We have this opportunity to utilize these technologies and to create tools that could probably offer more parity in the industry, hopefully financial security, and at the very, very least, provide just rewards for these people who have given us so much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I have two daughters, and they both absolutely love music, and that's not their chosen fields. But if they were encouraged to follow their passions, it would have been, you know. And who can imagine a world without music and art, and looking at New York City without the Broadway shows, etc. It's got to come back, and it's got to be better, right? So, Heidi, tech was not your initial career, so now you're passionate about blockchain technology. So what drives this passion?
I mean, I kind of wish that tech was my career, but it wasn't. I was also a former artist, so I definitely have a passion for how blockchain can help reduce help solve some of the problems that artists and entertainers face. Things like tokenizing their art, digital rights management, allowing for micropayments, fractionalized ownership, ensuring royalties are paid, all the way to something like micrometering, or just a few seconds of music can be commoditized. But on the personal end, what brought me here is I love blockchain because in theory, it reduces barriers to knowledge and wealth. And my story, it's a little personal, but I had many barriers in my life. I come from a welfare family, and there are many times we weren't sure about food. My parents are uneducated. My mom's an immigrant. And I grew up in this very remote rural town that had one stop sign, and that's it. So diversity wasn't necessarily a good thing in that community. And in fact, my third grade teacher had me stand up, and she announced that I'm not smart because I'm a half-breed. So ultimately, I just really didn't have access to resources. I really wanted to go to college, but couldn't afford the $35 college applications. So I sort of just muscled my way blindly, and I ended up at AIG, an amazing company, where I was exposed to mortgage-backed securities. And I was kind of surprised, not kind of, I was very surprised at how decisions were made based upon data that was not transparent, outdated, or incorrect data. And then we saw 2008, what happened. I believe that blockchain, because it's transparent, it's nearly immediate and immutable, the data is immutable, possibly that could have prevented the Great Recession, and who knows what it could prevent in the future. Mm-hmm. And then back to being personal, I love blockchain because by its very design, it's inclusive and not exclusive. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, it eliminates those barriers and it democratizes the knowledge to wealth and knowledge, democratizes access to knowledge and wealth through new tools, whether they're financial services for the unbanked, ensuring land titles for indigenous people, ensuring that there were no slaves or childs used in the labor of a product, protecting votes, or even something as simple as reducing processing times for college applications so that they cost pennies. Right. You know, I didn't grow up with blockchain and all the opportunities that come with it, but I'm determined to help others create these new tools, and perhaps my startup, Proof of Art, can help provide tools for artists, entertainers, and athletes in that community to create for a more just and equitable community for them.
Yeah, well, that would certainly be great. So turning now to Alex, you are Deputy CEO, heading up blockchain and tech at Sensorium Corporation. Your company says it's building the virtual music scene of tomorrow, but in the midst of a global pandemic and everything that Heidi was just talking about, the terrible difficulties that musicians and artists are suffering right now. Seems to me a virtual music scene is something that's needed sooner than later. And could you explain, where are we with this innovation? And has it accelerated due to COVID? And what are some of the benefits and features, if you could speak to that?
Sure. So thank you, everyone, for inviting. This is a wonderful roundtable. I think first time in my life I have three main lovely thing in one place: music, basketball, and blockchain. So all those three things, I spend a lot of time in my life. I just finished playing basketball yesterday, so all my legs are dying today. Well, generally, yes. What's said by Heidi, I agree. That's this is crisis is coming, and I think there will be a big wave of this crisis in the next 2 months, maybe several months before the year ends. That's why Sensorium here, we're developing the virtual reality platform. It's a metaverse called Sensorium Galaxy, where we will find a way, an option for artists and different musicians to show themselves in virtual reality. This is a new world, a new kind of economy that we're building together with most very famous partners like Tidal. I'm very happy to announce this partnership. We together with this company, we will bring most very famous, well-known DJs inside virtual reality, and you will be able to hear them in just sitting at home and not visiting the nightclubs. It wasn't past before a COVID-19 era, I believe that way. But this also will be a big chance for unknown artists, unknown musicians to participate in this Sensorium Galaxy and show their music, show their art, show their content to the users, that we will invest in this, in the promotion to the users. So I believe this kind of products will appear very soon, and we're seeing a kind of a one-way ticket transforming of the global markets trends that will appear with the new platforms like Sensorium. Those platforms will boost economy for artists and for the arts and entertainment at all, because they will provide the bridge between the person who can share the content, who can create these wonderful things like playing in theater or playing music and so on, to the people who want to contribute this content. And I believe there's people everywhere, not exactly like in the big cities. They can be a small village and so on. And building such a platform like Netflix, give you ability for several bucks to contribute a really unique content, or such a platforms give you ability to get new money for yourself if you share the content with the user. So I think we will see in the next couple of years really changing situation on the markets. And I believe those platforms like Sensorium Galaxy, they will really change the situation, because behavior of people are changing because of this crisis, and people still afraid to be in groups, like doesn't matter like COVID-19 or any other fears and so on. But people will genuinely stay at home, I think, in the next like several years, and we'll not see any more big parties like Tomorrowland have or Ibiza style or so on. But people still will have the demand for such unique experience, like Burning Man, for example. Yeah, those guys went online. So I believe we still have a huge audience that we can share with the content using such a platforms. And virtual reality is actually the answer how to build this bridge. And I believe it will call as a social virtual reality bridge, social virtual reality. As Brian Keane today was showing a couple of teasers. If you guys like will have a minute, you can go see this presentation early couple hours, or just go to the website of Sensorium, and there is a teaser of Prism, first world dedicated to music, where the whole world is transforming its landscape while music is changing. So it really looks amazing. Like it's like a dream, a big dream where you are a big part of this dream and everything is transforming around you. So I believe such a platform, such a things will add new feelings, new experience. They will actually expand the boundaries of real life. And I believe this will be really amazing.
Mm. Do you think the most benefits will go to early adopters, in a way like when businesses try to gain competitive advantages? Do you know early adopters some great new tech? Do you have musicians?
That's a very good question, because whole day today, I'm thinking about Moore curve. You will be surprised. I'm really thinking whole day today about the early adopters and the Moore curve. And I understood that virtual reality is not about early adopters, because I cannot share like unfinalized content. I cannot share the content which is not yet like on the production stage, right? So the virtual reality means like I have to provide a full scope, a high quality content that is already available for the early majority. So yes, and I believe actually while we are seeing those platforms on virtual reality coming, like Sensorium Galaxy, and by the way, we are planning to launch next year. So next year there will be platforms not for the early adopters, but rather for early majority, which means a mass market adoption. Yes, I believe the mass market adoption will start next year.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, now, what are your thoughts in general? How do you see blockchain itself, and in combination with other technologies, making music, the music world, a better place for musicians? I mean, aside from virtual reality, what do you like about blockchain, for example?
I spent a lot of time working with the blockchain, like together with R3 consortium and Corda, or designing the blockchain for a central bank in Russia, which had a place in the first time ever in the industry. But here in music industry, I see that the blockchain, together with virtual reality, can create a kind of digital immortality. I can record myself, my abilities, or of my avatar, or my license, which assets, digital assets I own, or which digital assets belong to me. I can record this in the blockchain, and I can open those assets on any type of the platform. So I believe the blockchain in terms of the music industry could be a kind of accounting system of the license agreements, accounting system for the digital assets, accounting system for the rights and property in the digital world. So I think this could be a core stone of the future platform, of the future economy.
Mm-hmm. And I guess one last quick question for you, and that is, do you think that this can finally be a livable wage for all of these musicians who've worked so hard but still need second jobs. Will they be able to get rid of those second jobs and focus on their passion?
Well, I heard very carefully what you was talking about in the beginning. So you was mentioning about tokens, right? So I believe those tokens that was mentioned for, this is kind of very nice reward system for musicians. And because the more they promote their music, the more they promote their content, the more they get using those token economy. And I believe this token economy could be reached the new level. If you heard about Polkadot or Ethereum 2.0, it means we are opening a black box where everyone can contribute to validation of transaction, and everyone can get a reward, much better reward together. Like it will be compared to the deposits in the banking and so on. But instead of deposit of real money, you will depositing the reward you get from your content. So I believe musicians can get a better and appropriate, I would say, transparent reward using tokenomic and economy based on tokens rather than real money. So I think the future is on the blockchain for music industry.
Yeah, and it's great that your banking background can help with that. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I spent whole my life in banking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Now you can combine it with helping.
Indeed.
So now turning to you, Karen, you bring an interesting perspective to this discussion because you've worked with numerous celebrity brands, and you're familiar with ways celebrities can leverage their fan base and technology to support good causes. So please introduce yourself and tell us about your work in this area.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Carpone, and it's an honor to be here at the Global Blockchain Business Summit. I'm excited to be on this panel with so many amazing speakers. So I'm really in the business of guiding conscious companies in their quest to turn visions into reality. I consult, so I offer companies and celebrities support with business development, marketing, sustainability, communications, and most importantly, strategic partnerships. I'm a super connector. I love connecting people, and when it happens, you can see the magic, and it can really help amplify for good the strategic partnerships. I believe that business should be about people, planet, purpose, and prosperity, and there's a way to do good and make money. So I call it Conscious Consulting. That's my consulting firm, and I'm also a managing partner with Akon and his new company that we just formed called Akon Global. So I have about 10 years, over a decade of celebrity experience. Some of the brands I've worked with are George Foreman, the Bob Marley family. With the Bob Marley family, I was the first person they hired to help launch the first eco-friendly headphone company in the market. And that was an exciting project. We launched in over 20 countries in 3 years. And it was just fabulous to be able to work so closely with the Bob Marley family. And I also helped them create their charity, onelove.org. After that, I spent about 5 years with Akon, African-American singer, songwriter, entrepreneur. He gave a keynote speech yesterday. And I had the opportunity to help him build Akon Lighting Africa. So we brought solar energy solutions to probably over 1 million rural households in Africa, mostly West Africa. And I helped him on marketing, communications, and again, it was really on the strategic partnerships to help amplify and roll out his programs quickly. So having experienced some of these celebrity brands, I truly believe that celebrities have the ability to leverage technology as well as their fan base to be able to create awareness and elevate causes. So let's face it, some of these fans have over 55 million, social media followers. So if we can really leverage that with the right intention and the right energy, you can elevate any cause. And so when it comes to technology, if we can leverage these celebrities to create more awareness around the importance of technology and how good it can be for the world, it can be very impactful. When it comes to blockchain technology in the music space specifically, I think, blockchain, like as Heidi said, it has really the potential to reestablish music, from being produced, bought, sold, listened to, managed. So it's in a fair and transparent way for the artist. Blockchain can really give the power back to the artist and back to the listeners and cut out a lot of the middle people. I was reading yesterday an article that said 1 million streams on Spotify earns artists and contributors about $7,000. But then after they split it and pay out crew members and producers and record companies, the artist only gets about $2,000. So this is where I think blockchain really has the potential to help transform this industry and make it more fair for the artists as well as the fans. I looked through and I tried to pick a celebrity. I wanted to pick Akon because I'm a big fan and I've worked with him for so long. But I think really for this panel, I think looking at Pitbull and what Pitbull's done, I think it's great because Pitbull, he's done several things around youth, around entrepreneurship, and around technology. So this is an example of how celebrities can get involved in several different areas to help elevate the importance of blockchain and technology and how we can use it for good. One of the things that he's passionate about youth, about entrepreneurship, and about technology. He helped create and found a charter school called Sports Leadership and Management. And so basically, it's for middle school and high school kids. But basically, a lot of youth believes that their ticket out of poverty is to become a professional athlete. But the percent that actually achieve that is really small. So they created this charter school to help give these kids the skill set to be able to get jobs or become an entrepreneur and do things in the sports industry, in the entertainment industry. So it's a really unique program. They've recently expanded their curriculum to include more technology so that the kids can learn about, blockchain, AI, et cetera. So they have that skill set. And this goes back to just also the importance of job creation, I think. Unemployment is, obviously an issue that is very pressing. And I recently learned that we have to create over 1 billion jobs in the next decade to be able to, keep up with the population. And I've also learned that entrepreneurs create new jobs twice as fast than established companies. So really giving the youth these unique opportunities to be able to instill in them that entrepreneurial spirit is really going to be important for the future. The second thing that Pitbull did is he created the Smackathon. It's a competition for business ideas focused around blockchain and the music industry specifically. It's an annual event, and it's seen blockchain-based ideas like decentralized streaming services, platforms that pay a listener for every second they listen to a song, and other fan engagement tools have come out of that. And the third thing I think Pitbull's been really good at is just also investing in these new technology companies. He invested in a company called Unity, UNITEA. It's the world's largest loyalty platform for music. The founder, Carpone, is a good friend of mine. I've known him for over 10 years. And what Unity does is it empowers artists to take back their own data rights through the platform's karma attention tokens. So it was like what Alex was saying, these tokens are going to be really important. And they can reward fans for streaming and for sharing music through this ecosystem now that they've created. And it also has an in-app messaging platform. So how Carpone explained it to me to help me understand it better is he compared it to like worker unions, right? So the worker unions help workers make sure that they get treated fairly. So this is like a data union, right? So it really allows the artists to take back their own data rights so that they're treated fairly. Mm-hmm. The karma economy system that they've created, it allows for physical and digital experiences, which are funded by brands and sponsors and advertisers. But some of these experiences, fans can redeem their karma tokens for experiences, such as like a Zoom call with Claude Stroke. I just learned who he was. He's the #1 house artist in America. Another example is, you can redeem your rewards for a full makeover with a makeup company, a brand sponsoring it. So these are just some examples, I think, how celebrities are getting involved and can get involved. And I think to really elevate the importance of technology, the importance of blockchain, giving youth access to learning about it, supporting entrepreneurs in those fields. And I think that's where, if we can get more celebrities involved and leverage their fan base, we can create more awareness around it and be able to do good in the world at a faster pace through technology.
Mm. Yeah, it sounds like celebrities certainly have an important role to play, and it's also important to make sure they're educated about what's going on. And there's certainly a lot to learn in terms of the uses and benefits of technology. So I'd like to ask everyone now, and please feel free to use my next question to have a discussion amongst yourselves, and that is, what is your hope for what new tech, including blockchain, will ultimately achieve in the music, entertainment, and sports industries? And then maybe also discuss amongst yourself, and what do you think it will take to get there? So Charles, maybe we can begin with you.
I mean, I think what we're looking for is the same thing you hear all the time around this technology is the democratization. How can we break down the normal societal ways that you can get content out to people? And you see creators on YouTube, on SoundCloud. There are some of these creators that are making very, very good money, and yet there's still such a large piece of the entire paycheck that is going to somebody else. How do you take that out of it, because it's not adding value to the chain itself? So I think that's what I would be seeing, or that I would be hoping, is the normalized ways that people are getting content out into the world to be broken down if they're not adding value. There should always be a value add at every step of the way in any organization that you're working with as a creator.
Yeah, Heidi, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I love this quote by Pablo Picasso. It says, "Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life." For me, I think that artists, entertainers, athletes, all of these creatives, we need them. We need them to nourish our souls. And unfortunately, today, so much of their success just depends on luck. Really comes down to luck. I know so many incredibly talented artists who were trained by the best instructors in the world. Maybe they work even harder than many of my corporate friends, and yet they still live paycheck to paycheck. And then in that industry, the disparity between those that have made it and those that are working towards it is incredible, that disparity. And so what I hope that blockchain can do, or the utilizing blockchain in creating tools, would be to help eliminate that feast or famine and create some more parity in this industry. At the very least, economic security, so that these creatives can do what they do best, which is create and allow us to wash away that dust from our everyday life.
Yeah, that's great. So, Alex, anything to add?
Well, good words. What I can add. So, generally, blockchain is as a platform or technology can bring us a fair distribution of resources in general, right? So I believe the resources is sufficient for everyone, and the only problem is a right and fair distribution of those resources. So everyone heard about the crisis between Epic Games and Apple, right? And this is an example of when some company takes a 30% charge for some new development, new products that creating by the entrepreneurs, creating by the musicians or representative of the entertainment industry. So the blockchain should remove those barriers and should remove this unfair inequality. So I believe we are really, really close to the new age, hopefully.
Well, that's great. So what do you think? Year, 2 years from now, 10 years, 20 years from now?
I believe a couple of years and we'll see the miracles.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Good to look forward to that, and watch out, everybody. Great, yeah. So Karen, what about you? Some of your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more celebrities involved, right? And using their fan base to educate people on technology and the importance of it, and how it can benefit the world. I'm personally not a singer. I only sing in my car and in the shower. But for whatever reason, I've been surrounded by celebrities, by musicians. So I want to give them that gift of strategic partnerships and help them amplify and use their fan base for good. I'd also love to see more technology and entrepreneurship programs out there, because I think it's so important for youth giving them the tools, and for entrepreneurs and giving them the opportunities and the experiences. I'd love to see more extreme tech challenges from Bill Ty, Act Ty. I'm a big fan of that. Or, Pitbull with his Smackathon. And the other one that I'm recently been involved with is the entrepreneurship sports generation, and that's happening right now, and it's going to lead up to the finals in December. So yeah, I want to see more celebrities involved, and I think blockchain can cut across so many other industries. So I'd love to see celebrities involved, not just in the music, sports, and entertainment industry, but using blockchain in other industries as well, like Acorn with his Acoin, uniting One Africa with one coin, or will.i.am with his, AI technology company called IM Plus. So I think there's room for celebrities to get involved across the board with technology and use their voice, use their social media platform and their fans to show the importance of technology and how we can use it for good in the world.
So Charles, speaking of sports celebrities, what do you think about the Clippers jumping in and receiving technology education and supporting it in some way? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, look, I think similar to what Karen was mentioning, is it's up to us who have access to these amazing platforms, who have access to this crazy leverage with celebrity personalities, with brands, to use that for good. And really the value that we can inject into society, whether it's local society across the or across the country, across the world, is paramount because of how global celebrities are now. Even I would say our top 5 players are recognized across the world, and that you could probably say this, you wouldn't be able to say that 10 or 15 years ago. So really pushing those personalities and those voices to understand, and that's also up to us that are the leaders in technology, is getting them to understand, getting them to comprehend the value. Maybe technology didn't make their life, but getting them to understand that it can change the lives of those that they're trying to impress, they're trying to help out. And so some of that is education just internally within the organizations that we're part of. Some of it is just leveraging your organization to do well in the local, whether it's local government or the local community. But it's overall, it's just utilizing and leveraging the brand for better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I have an idea. How about concert for crypto? If we could put that on your platform, Alex.
Yeah, it's going to be there very soon. Yes, we will announce some really crazy partnerships with very famous DJs, I believe, in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be really big names. Okay, that's great. And perhaps there could be fundraising associated with it to provide this education that everyone is mentioned is needed in different ways.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, you can continue. I will just finish after you. No problem.
It's funny because you had just mentioned foundation and donation, and that's one of the key pieces. At least we've learned at the Clippers and the Ballmer Foundation how hard it is to get really good ideas of where your dollars are going and how much value you're able to truly create when you're working with foundations. And I think having something built within blockchain that is able to track that, you're able to be able to make sure the dollars are going to the right thing. There's no funny business. There's no Hollywood accounting. You are actually ensuring that the what you're trying to do is being done, and not just the PR answer of, oh, great, the Clippers donated X, Y, and Z to this community. Like, you want to make sure that you're really enabling. And as an organization like us, we don't have a massive community team. So we have to rely on our partners. We have to rely on those others. And having that single view pane of glass would be amazing.
Actually, this thing was mentioned by Charles is really huge. I fully agree. It's like, because non-for-profit organization is a huge basement for the transformation on the blockchain, because all of those accounting things and all of those extra expenses for the transaction cost when you trying to donate your money, it could be avoided using blockchain. So the blockchain can create a really transparent accounting system that is really free for everyone. And this was especially really needed for non-for-profit organization. But I believe generally we will see that's a transformation not only non-for-profit organization, but also for the educational point of view. I think traditional education will also be transformed, because everyone sitting at home can get new skills from the appropriate teachers, and this could be under cover of the famous names of the universities. You can like try to reach anyone and get a new skills. Like, for example, I'm trying to get to play on dramas, and I just saw the guy who played drama, and I'm just visiting the classes, paying to this guy. I'm not visiting very famous classes, and that's, I believe, how it's going to work in the new age.
Yeah, all right.
I wanted to just add to Alex what you said. I think it's going to be, the university system really needs to be transformed to be different for the future. And there's a great example, the Africa Leaders University. It's an incredible curriculum, and he decided we no longer need majors, we need missions. And he identified the top 7 missions in Africa that will help get Africa to the next level. And the students that apply have to sign a contract that they're going to come back to Africa, that they're going to help Africa. And their curriculum is based, on practical experiences and skill set that will help them in a specific mission.
Very interesting. Well,
I don't know if we were running out of time,
thank you all for sharing.
but I will throw in there for the Los Angeles Blockchain Lab, we have provided, with partnership with USC Viterbi School of Engineering, education around the world to some disadvantaged communities. And it was a really interesting struggle in many ways to get there. Simple things like Wi-Fi, or do they have access to laptops? But there is, with that said, it was a very successful program, and I think that there are those opportunities to connect with, not just in the United States, but all around the world.
Well, Heidi, I'm glad you had a chance to make that additional point, because we are out of time now. But I wanted to thank all of you so much for very helpful information and insights. And to attendees, if you want to learn more about these projects, we're not able to add the links that I thought we might have time for. But just do a search, an internet search for blockchain plus music, blockchain plus entertainment, blockchain plus sports, and you'll come up with a wealth of information. It's really a growing field. So I want to thank again everybody, and that wraps this up. Enjoy the rest of the program, and be well.